Hello everyone, welcome to our Friday Live yoga class. I'm Bree Johnson, Heart and Bones Yoga, as you're here on the page. And you're going to join me today for a really great cellular dance party. And if you've been following along on the page this week, either here on Facebook or on Instagram as well, that at Heart and Bones Yoga, that we've been having a cellular dance party. And I've been talking lots about what a cellular dance party is. And it's my way of really kind of having fun with thinking and inspiring people to move and to move in all sorts of different ways. Hi Jenny, welcome. So the cellular dance party, you're going to feel it inside of your body and it's going to feel amazing. And so please do it along with me. What you're going to need is a good old-fashioned yoga block, and then a strap, and if there's a bolster or anything else that you want to sit on or something like that, go ahead and use other props. But at least if you have a strap or a sock or anything, really, a scarf if you're at home, right, to use, and then a yoga block. So real quick, cellular dance party, what is that? What happens? Why did we want to have a cellular dance party? Well, first things first, and I always want to just double check. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if the sound is good? If, I have it on the horizontal mode, but if I'm not in a weird sideways things for you guys watching. So if you could let me know technical sides are all good, then I'm going to continue to go. Yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Now, cellular dance party. So the long and short of a cellular dance party is the fact that when you move your body, movement brings oxygen, movement brings nutrients, movement brings the stuff that your cells need to thrive on into the places where they need to move. So if you want to think about it like this, talking right now, all the cells around my mouth get a lot of a cellular dance party because I'm using my mouth a lot. Meanwhile, maybe there's other parts of my body, maybe my neck, maybe my parts of my spine that don't get as much movement. So they're not getting that much, they're not getting fed as much, right? So that's just so simplistic. Just think about movement brings nutrients. Movement brings oxygen. Movement brings the cells that you need, the food that your cells need to survive and feel awesome and good, which therefore turns into the hashtag cellular dance party. So I think that's just a really fun way of thinking about, well, how can I move so that I'm creating that sense of joy, I'm feeding the cells what they need, and so on. So one other little side thing before we start moving, the other thing about cellular dance parties are, as I said, there's parts of us that get to enjoy more movement, and then there's other parts that get to not move quite as much. And so this specific session is going to try to get into some of the places that we don't move as much, providing that cellular feeding awesome dance party into those areas. So we're going to get into some of the joints. We're going to get into some interesting movements that we don't always, and angles that we don't always get to do, even in a regular yoga class, right? So a lot of my yoga approach is deconstructing the large movements that we do in yoga so that we can feed the areas that don't get to move quite as much. So let's get started. Hi, Vicky, happy to do this. Well, I'm happy you're here. Thank you for joining, and really thank you everybody who's able to join live. I know we're all around the world, different time zones, so welcome, thank you. Now, so those who are just joining, a reminder, you'll need a strap, and then you'll need a block, yoga mat. A wall is going to be handy because we're going to do some stuff at the wall. So let us begin. Here we go. Now, I'm going to scoot back here so that you can see more. And the first thing that we want to do is to just sit in a comfortable position, and I'm going to even offer you something slightly different. So if you're used to doing yoga, and if you start your yoga classes sitting in a cross-legged position, you're likely always crossing your legs in the same way. So for me in my body, my habitual pattern is to bring my left foot in front of me. And if I'm not thinking about it, that's just how I'm going to do it. So if you're doing this along with me, sitting, just sit however you are, just don't think about it, go into your automatic seated position and notice which leg is in front. So that section of that leg, that positioning of the legs is creating a certain degree of cellular dance party movement to these areas, but it's actually kind of at the expense of some other areas. So I'm going to recommend just bringing your leg in the other direction. So now, for me, it was my left leg. That's always my default leg that I always have in front. Now I have my right leg in front. It might feel weird, it might feel awkward, but that's the whole point, because we need to create balance and drive some movement and mobility into other parts of your body. So seriously, just as simple as that, change the cross of your leg so your other leg is in front. Hello to everybody who's just joining. Now, we're going to take a few big deep breaths, and it's always nice to take some time to get centered, right? To tune into your body, because what we're about to move into are some quieter places, some places in our body that don't get as much attention and as much love. So the first step is just to tune in. So sit up onto something, sit onto one of your yoga blocks if you like, if that's more comfortable. But you can close your eyes, you can let your hands rest on your lap, on your legs. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can. If you feel more comfortable having them a little bit open, that's perfectly okay. But let's just start to take some big deep breaths in. Big deep breath out. I like doing a big sigh, so feel free to sigh as well with me. Inhale again. And then exhale. Let's do one more of those. Inhale. And then exhale. Now bring your inner gaze, your inner attention into your belly, and invite all the layers of your belly to soften and to relax. So you might have been holding your belly, you might have been clenching it or bringing it in a bit. So just create a little bit of a softening, a relaxation there in your core. And notice how that feels. So there's a flip side of the dance party. For a lot of us, we have the habit of holding our core tight. So even giving the cells in your stomach and internal organs the opportunity to relax. So just notice how that feels. Good. And then check in, see if there's any other parts of you that are feeling like they need a little bit of nudging to relax, a little bit of an invitation. So wherever you chronically or consistently hold your stress and your tension, find those areas and give them permission to soften and relax. So for some of us, that would be the neck, the jaw. There's usually more than one area that feels tense and tight. So find them in your body today. Notice what they're doing and give them permission to relax. And keep breathing deep. So now that your attention is getting pulled inward, you're watching me, we're together here right now, but at the same time, your attention is a little bit more focused within your body, right? So tuning into the more subtle aspects of ourself, because we're going to start to move those subtle aspects. So let's all take another big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. Good. Now I'm going to start us with our toes and our feet. So I'm going to come back a little bit. And so some of the places that don't get as much love and movement are our toes, because they're in shoes all the time, right? Or it's just been winter in different parts of the world. And so you might have been in these big winter boots. So let's just spend just a little bit of time. Wiggle out your toes. Your legs are extended in front of you. Give your toes a little wiggle. Looking at your toes, say hello, say good morning or evening, again, whatever time it is for you watching this. And then I want you to spread your toes as wide as they can go. Try to get as much space between each of your toes. And then from here, you're going to point your big toes away from your body. Maybe they'll do that, maybe they won't. So now relax the toes, okay? Now see if you can get your big toes to point back toward your body without any of the other toes doing anything. So when I teach this live in classes, there's always elicits a lot of laughter, because a lot of us can't do this. So if you're laughing, that's a good thing. So now point your big toes away from you again, and then the rest of your 4 toes back towards your head. So big toes forward, 4 toes on each foot, back towards you. Now see if you can go the other way. So point your toes back towards your body, big toes, and then 4 toes big toes towards you, 4 toes away from you. And you may be able to do it, you may not. And it doesn't matter if you can do it at this point. What we're trying to do is create that motor program. We're mapping our mind to our toes. So now we're going to do that just a few more times, but let's see if you can do it back and forth. So toes, big toes one direction, 4 toes the other direction. One foot might be more cooperative than the other. Just notice, again, if it makes you smile and laugh, that's a good reaction to this footwork. And then relax there. Now, even just doing a little bit of toe mobilization like that, notice how your feet feel now. Do they feel a little bit more alive? So that's what we're going to be noticing and trying to just play with as we go through this practice today, is kind of getting that before and after. How do the places feel before you move them, and then how do they feel after? Because that's what I'm talking about with a cellular dance party. What we've just done in your toes was just brought some circulation to them by moving them. It's so simple. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. This is what I love about this work. Now, you're still sitting. Now, I'm going to recommend just bringing your legs apart. You don't have to bring them all the way out to the side, just a little bit apart. Remember, if you're not comfortable on the floor, flat on the floor, you sit up onto a yoga block or a cushion or anything you've got nearby. Hello to everybody who's continuing to join in. Hi, thanks for joining. Now, I want you to bring your attention into so I'm going to talk and cue a lot from our bones and our joints. So we can't see our bones, we can't see our joints. What we see is our clothing, and then our skin, and then maybe the muscle underneath the skin. So we're going to do what I call yogi x-ray vision. So we got to try to get a sense of bringing your attention into your bones. And so even just, like I'm a big fan, like feel of just touching your own body, right? So get in there, give your legs a little bit of massage. And then underneath all of that soft tissue, can you get a sense of your bones? So what we're looking for specifically right now is our femur bones, your thigh bones. And right up at the top of your thigh bones, we've got our hip joints. So what we're going to do is just internally and externally rotate your femur bones. You're rotating your thigh bones in, rotate your thigh bones out. So do that a few times, excuse me, and get a sense that let's all take our hands onto our pelvis as we do this. So you can really feel the bones, dig in there, try to feel the bones of your pelvis as you internally and externally rotate. So this is because we're going to be revisiting this movement a lot in this practice today. Excuse me. So what I want you to really start to get a sense of this. It's so simple, but so effective, of the movement of your femur bone, internally rotating, externally rotating in the hip joint, right? So the head of your femur bone is a big, beautiful sphere, and that's what it's doing right now, is rotating in and out. Seems like a small movement, but by moving, we're really trying to drive that movement into the joint. All the tissues, all the little muscles surrounding your hip joints are getting the movement that they need. They're getting that circulation. Again, cellular dance party. So simple, boom, done. Okay, do another little shake. But guess what? We're going to do the same movement with the legs in front of us one more time, because the different angles that you have with your legs out to the side like we just did, forward and in, you're going to create a little bit of a different variation. You may not notice the difference in your felt experience, but you're giving different tissues the opportunity to work in different ways. So again, internal, external rotation. Do this just a couple more times, and I want you to look at your legs and see if one leg internally and externally rotates better than the other one, because that's not uncommon. And I don't actually, I'm going to take that back. I don't want to say better. I'm just going to say different, right? One might rotate more, one rotates less in one direction. Just get a sense, and then give a little shake. Good. So continuing on that internal and external rotation. So this is always like my go-to hip movement, is the 90-90 position. And there's a whole bunch of different variations that you can do with this. And right now for this practice, we're just going to do a really simple supported one. I've got other videos where I'm doing more active ones, but for today it's just going to be simple. Simple meaning that first you want to try to get it's called the 90-90 position because your shins and your femur bones, let's say your knees, are in a roughly 90-degree angle. So it's not having your feet close to your body like this. It's actually moving your lower leg, your shins, away so that they create more of a 90-degree angle, all right? And then you're going to prop yourself up like this. So my hands are supporting me, and I'm going to take a few deep breaths, nothing crazy, and just start to invite a little bit of opening, a little bit of new positioning here on my back leg. Doesn't matter if you have your knees over to the right, if you have your knees to the left, just pick a side. We'll take another big deep breath in. Why don't we wiggle our toes one more time? Good. And then you're going to, so whatever leg you've got, that's the back leg, so to speak, you're going to lift it up and then lower it down. Now, this is still, you're going to continue this movement, and this is still what we were doing, very similar to what we were doing with our legs extended. What we're doing is internally and externally rotating. So take your x-ray vision. Can you still get a sense of your femur bone rotating in and then rotating out? And you're going to try to do this movement without your pelvis coming along for the ride. So what I have here is my hand on my pelvis to remind my pelvis to stay still. And I'm moving my leg up and down. So we're trying to really make the movement be just in your hip joint. How's that feeling, everybody? And this is so good. And with the support of the hands is helpful. If you're feeling super adventurous, you can do it without your hands. I don't care what you do today, but the key really is just to bring slow, controlled movements up and down. Now, a couple more breaths. Nice. I wish I could see everybody doing this with you, but I'm going to trust that you're all enjoying this. And then we're going to rotate and go to the other side. So let's bring our legs back into that 90-90 position and take another moment before you start moving this other leg. How does it feel? How does one side of your pelvis feel compared to the other? How does one hip joint feel compared to the other? Check in, notice, breathe. As we're here, why don't we give a little wiggle to our toes again? Good morning, toes. There. Okay, now, again, you're going to bring this back knee up, rotating over your heel so your foot comes off, but your heel stays down. Slowly lower down, slowly lift up. Remember, try to keep your pelvis still. Good. Now imagine, so this is for me, like it's really one of my all-time, as I said before, one of my all-time favorite movements. There's so much you can do within this 90-90. But think about this. So the hips are always so tight for so many of us. So imagine if you did this every morning, right when you woke up, and maybe even every night just before bed a few times. How would that make your hips feel after a week, after 2 weeks? Right? So it's all about consistency, trying to move into these places that we don't always get as much movement and do it more consistent. Okay, so continuing this. Remember, so you can prop yourself up. I'm going to just show a couple more times sitting up, what that looks like. Even if your knee is barely coming off the ground, that's fine. You're doing this beautiful strengthening mobility work to wake up all of the tissues in and around your hip joints, which again is that cellular dance party. Okay, there we go. Last time, lower your knee. Stretch your legs back out into that straddle-like position, and then let's do that internal and external rotation again, and see how that feels now. So you're internally rotating, externally rotating. Does it feel like it's a little smoother, a little easier? Does it feel the same? And if it does, that's fine as well. Now let's do a little bit of some movement along with this. So what we're going to do, so you're in this straddle position, and let's all rotate to our left. So I'm going to mirror you, okay? So we're going to rotate to the left. So that means I'm going to put more weight onto my left leg, left sit bone. At the same time, lift my right sit bone and come into that 90-90 position. So I'll show that again to the other side. So as we come out of this, I'm going to start with my back leg. I'm going to stretch it behind me, externally rotate back into that straddle, and then internally rotate back leg, go back into the 90-90. Start with my back leg, stretch it back, rotate, other leg, slow. So when we do this movement, it's all slow and controlled. Extend, 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 back leg, externally rotate, extend, other leg, and then just continue a few more times. So slow and controlled, feel that rotation and that beautiful movement in your hip joints. If you need to use your hands on the floor for a little bit of extra help, absolutely fine. Good. Oh, it is so delicious in the hips. Love, love, love this. Okay, let's go one more time on each side. How are those hips feeling, everyone? If you're near your phone or computer while you're watching, feel free to do a thumbs up if you like any of these movements. So, because I'd be giving Thumbs up, big time right now. That's my fave. So a couple more times, internal and external rotation, internal and external rotation. Good. Now let's use that. Yeah, thumbs up, woohoo. Okay, good. So let's now use that. So you're gonna rotate toward the front of your mat. Doesn't matter which direction, which leg, but rotate like that. For fun, this might be available to some of you, this might not be to others, so watch me first. So I've just done the same movement we just did, and then I'm going to come up onto my front foot without my hands. Do you see that? And then use that as a transition to get onto the knees, like so. So if that works for your knees, yay, and if not, yay. But now we're going to do some variations of lunges, because lunging is amazing. If you ever go to any of my live classes, there's always virtually a lunge in it. But I like to do the variations of lunges because when we're lunging, we're always usually lunging in the same way, which wakes up the cells in that particular area, but we also miss out on some other areas. So I'm going to show you some variety of lunges here. First thing you want to do is bring your right foot forward, like so. So support your back knee. So I'm going to take one of these softer green blocks, and I'm going to use it for a little bit of support on my back knee. And then I'm just going to move back a bit. Okay. Now you're going to be, this is kind of like the standing up 90-90 lunge, where do you see how my pelvis is in a vertical line over top of my knee? I'm tucking my back toes and my front leg is bent as well. Now, hands onto your pelvis. Find your AS-ISs. So those are those two hip points right at the front of your pelvis. And we're going to use them as our markers to know where we are in space. So what that means, and so this is the visualization that I always like to use. Picture your AS-ISs pointing forward like they're the headlights of a car. So can you arrange your pelvis so that those two headlights, those two AS-ISs are pointing forward? And then you're going to slide your pelvis forward just a little bit. So I'm back like this, I'm sliding it forward. And then at the same time, I'm going to start to pull my right femur bone back into my body and simultaneously press my right heel down. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to pull my right femur bone back in my body, press my right foot down. So all of a sudden I feel a little bit more engagement in my legs. And then I'm going to continue to slide forward with that feeling. So now I'm creating resistance, because I could just go all the way like that, but that's not what we're looking for right now. So now what we're looking for is that sense of resistance. Keep plugging femur bone in, pressing your heel down, sliding your pelvis forward. So this is going to be, it's like slow-mo lunging. So you're going to try to create that sense of resistance to really wake things up. I hope things are waking up for you. So even just this, how you move into the lunge is going to make a different kind of cellular dance party. Because if you just go into a lunge, you're going to do this while I show you, by the way. So you keep doing what you're doing, but I'm going to show you, if I just moved into a lunge like this, I don't get that same sort of activity as I do when I create the resistance, right? So you can feel that difference. Same lunge, different experience. Couple more deep breaths. Pretty awesome, hey? Doesn't look dramatic, it's pretty small, but I know the felt experience can be quite dramatic. Whew. Okay, come on out. Let's switch sides. So bringing your other foot forward, whatever other leg you didn't use, and then start with that more vertical position. So that means my pelvis is more or less over top of my knee. Pressing my left foot down, my front foot down, plugging femur bone in, and then creating that resistance. Double checking what's my pelvis doing. It's going to be a little bit different from side to side, so check those headlights. Is one lifted higher? Is one pulled back? Can you get them a little bit more even and neutral? Continue that. And then slide your pelvis forward while you press your front foot down, while you plug your outer hip in, femur bone in, and only move as far forward as your body will let you with this sense of resistance. So good. So good. I love it. So you don't have to do, this is what I love about this work, is that we don't have to do big dramatic movements. You don't have to get your leg around your head. You don't have to go deeper, quote, quote, into the pose. This is deeper in the pose. On the surface, not so deep, right, from what we're used to with all those like Instagram photos of yogis doing these big dramatic movements. But on the internal level, and like your cells are getting fed in a beautiful new way. So this is deeper, which I love. Okay, another breath or two. So keep feeling, create that resistance. This is feeling awesome in my body. Hope it is in yours. And then slowly come on out. Good. Now you can do this, so sometimes we can do this. I'll show you real quick and then we'll move on to another lunge. But sometimes you can just do this. Actually, let's just all do it. Why would I explain it? We're all here to practice right now. So let's get into the same position. Plug your right femur bone in. Create that resistance, and we're going to do a little bit more movement. So you're still creating resistance, but you're going to let yourself go a little bit further. A little bit further. My knee is traveling over my ankle, but that's okay. Right? So you can do that too. Our legs need to be able to move in all sorts of different ways. Keep feeling resistance, resistance, and then to come out, we want to create resistance. So I'm pressing my foot down, I'm plugging femur bone in, and I'm coming back up slowly. Resistance, we're going to do that 2 more times. So slowly forward, forward, forward. Oh, that's so good. Right into the places I need it. And then slowly come back up. Last time, slowly come down like you're moving through molasses, and then back up. Good. So I'm not going to my full range, but it's really working things. So to the other side. Plug your femur bone in, press your foot down, try to get that more neutral pelvis, and slowly go forward, go forward. Good. And then slowly come back up and come down again with resistance. I hope this is making sense for all of us doing this along with me, that you're creating that resistance. You can feel the work happening here. So good. Again, coming back up 1 more time, neutral-ish pelvis, and resistance, 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 and then resistance, resistance coming up. Whew. How's that for you guys? That always just, it's magic. I love that. Now let's do another lunge, and this one's gonna get, so we're going to do 2 more lunges, okay? So the first one we're going to bring our right foot forward. So we'll do a version of a low lunge like so. Right foot forward, left leg back. If you'd like, I'm always a big fan, I just actually only have 1 block, but if you have 2 blocks, you can place them underneath your hands like so. Now, come into a high lunge. So what I describe as a high lunge here is tucking your back toes, lift your hips, lift your leg, and we'll do this nice big reach through your back leg. Always so nice, so good. Plug in your right femur bone gently to stabilize your outer hip of that bent front leg. And then release and come down. Now we're going to create a little bit of a variation on that now. So what you're going to do is keep your pelvis heavy. So what we just did was lift our pelvis, lift our leg like so. Now your pelvis is going to stay just as it is, and then you're only going to lift your back knee up off the floor without lifting your pelvis. So do you see what I'm doing here? So instead of everything lifts, just my knee. A lot smaller, but a lot deeper. So now can you feel that cellular dance party happening here? Likely what that feeling will be is just a new area and a new sensation of movement deeper tissues into your hip joints that you might not normally feel when you are in that variation of a high lunge. Breathing deep. Is it getting warm at your house? It's getting warm here. Definitely when we wake up, these deep layers of our hips, that always brings a lot of heat in my body. Okay, I'm going to switch. This is a nice way, or kind of a fun, creative way to come out of lunges. So doing that same sense of resistance, press down through your front foot, slowly, slowly come back up. And then if it's okay for your knees, from this high kneel position, bring your next foot forward, all right? And then slowly come back down all the way to the floor. And let's do the first variation of the high lunge. So we reach our back leg back, good. Feel your back leg nice and long. Now I'm a big fan of always trying to think about plugging your femur bone in. You don't have to smush it back into your pelvis, but it's a gentle invitation for your femur bone to plug in, because you'll feel how that kicks on the musculature surrounding your hip joint. Now lower, back down. Keep your back toes tucked. Keep your pelvis low. Keep plugging your femur bone in gently while you press that front foot down. And then lift your back knee. Oh yeah. So I always like to make the joke, you're doing this right if it just became really hard. So if you're experiencing that right now, fabulous. And I mean hard in the sense of, oh, hello, layers of my hips that I don't always get to. So this is one of my favorite variations for my lunging. Good, couple more breaths. Keep your pelvis low, just lift your back knee up a little bit more, reach, reach, reach. And then exhale, release. Press your right foot or the front foot down, slowly come back up. Take a moment and check in. Do you feel that rush of blood around the hips, around your thighs, hip flexors? Pretty awesome. Again, feel free. Thumbs up, encouragement to each other as we all do this. So one more lunge variation, and then we're going to get into our shoulders a little bit. So let's bring our other foot forward, and then you're going to come down. Still come down with that little bit of sense of resistance, slowly lowering down. And then, hands on either side of your foot, bring your attention into your pelvis. And what we're going to do is move laterally. So most of our lunging is always in the sagittal plane like this, in flexion and extension. And what we're going to do is just move sideways. So and hopefully you'll come through here on the video. So what I'm going to do, if you guys can see this, my pelvis is going to go over to the right, pelvis to the left, pelvis to the right, to the left. So this is, and if you can't see it, then that's no surprise because it's actually kind of a small movement. All I'm trying to do is move my pelvis laterally, right, left. It's not my shoulders moving. It's not my front knee moving. It's my pelvis. Good. Now while you're doing this, check your jaw. Often our jaw and our forehead tend to be very helpful, so you can invite them to be a little less helpful. We'll do a couple more, side to side, side to side. And then again, press down through that front foot, slowly rise up. These are my really favorite ways of coming in and out of a lunge series like this, because it's also just coming up onto the high knees, bringing your foot forward is a really great little mobility work. So every movement we do counts and has benefit. So let's go down. See how it is on the other leg. So again, that little side to side movement, pelvis to the right, pelvis to the left, right, left. Try to keep your shoulders still. Try to keep your front knee relatively still. And we'll do a couple more little sweeps, side to side. Again, check your jaw, check your forehead. Good. Smile, breathe. Okay, are you feeling that cellular dance party? Are you feeling new parts of you wake up? I hope so. Now we're gonna slowly come back up. There. Okay, now are you guys ready to take a break from the hip area and get into our shoulders? So, yeah, thumbs up. Feel free to, yeah, Melanie, this will be available later. So yes, I'm just checking in to see people writing. Yeah, all of these are all saved once this is, so if you're able to join live, awesome, but you know that you can watch this and play along after. Okay, now I'm going to take my block and I'm going to sit on it. So feel free to sit on it for yourself. And we're going to do some fun shoulder work. And then we're going to end the class here on our backs, going back into our hips a little bit. But for now, let's get into our shoulders. Now, so I'm going to show you kind of something that we do very often in yoga is this, right? Bring your arms up and down like that. So feel free to do it with me because this is a nice range of motion. So simple, but I'm moving my arms all the way up, all the way down. Now, while you're doing this, which leg went in front? So if you happen to join in since the beginning, if you went back to your automatic leg that's always in front, let's change it. And then again, arms up, arms down. Now let's do that in front of us. So that was coronal or frontal plane. We've got 3 planes of movement that our body goes in. And then we're going to go into the sagittal plane. So flexion, extension is behind. Arms up, and then arms down, a little bit behind. Good. Now what's great about this is, doesn't that feel nice? Arms all the way up this way, arms back. We did arms all the way up this way, arms back. But guess what we just missed? When we only go, especially right in yoga, if you guys are all yogis here, we always do arms out to the side, or we always do arms up. But we forget about everything in between, front and side. This whole transverse plane here has an opportunity that we don't get to move into often. So what we're going to do is just go very simple arms up, but slowly, incrementally moving through the transverse plane to wake up different tissues. Because I'm going to use different muscle tissues when my arms are this way. I'm going to use different muscle tissues when my arms are this way, and this way, and this way, and this way. So now, arms all the way out to the side. Also, bring them a little bit forward, and then up and down. Trying to stay in that angle. Up and down. How does that feel? One more time. Up and down. And then bring them a little bit more forward. Inhale, up. And while you're doing this, I really want you to get a sense of, does it change? What other parts of you work when your arms are moving in an angle they may not always move in? So move a little bit more forward. So there's real benefit to go in as many diverse and variety of ways of moving as you can. Okay, back down and then back to the front. So do you see how that works? So we're just going to go slowly up and down, back out to the side. And I want you to really see, small movement doesn't seem dramatic, but makes a big difference. And I hope you felt that. Now we're going to add on, as we always do. But before we do, take a moment. How do your shoulders feel now? Right? Can you feel that blood? Can you feel the circulation going? So remember, that circulation that you feel is the cellular dance party that I'm talking about. So we just did this. Your arms might have been in any rotation. We didn't pay attention or worry about that in that variation. But now we're going to think about, not only is there benefit to moving in all planes and all angles, but there's also benefit to the angle that you actually have your arm bones in. So for most of us, we often have our arm bones in this internally rotated position. I'm exaggerating this, of course, but this is a lot of people's default. So there's a lot of benefit being not an internal rotation, but being an external rotation. So let's try this just out to the side. Palms out to the side, and then let's externally rotate, internally rotate. Good. Now while you do that, really try to get a sense, just like we did with our femur bone sitting down, that your humerus, your upper arm bone, is doing the movement, that you're initiating the movement from the shoulder joint instead of the forearm. Because did you know your forearm can move independent of the upper arm bone, our forearm bones, right? So we want it to come from the humerus, the upper arm bone. So you're still doing that, internal, external. Try to keep your shoulder blades fairly still for this. Okay, awesome, hey? So shake that out, take a moment. How does that feel? And we're going to do the same movement, but this time with rotation. So internally, externally rotate as you lift your arms up. Good. Internal, external. How does that feel? That's probably waking up some places that are a little sleepy or don't get used as much. So let's do that again, but bring our arms a little bit more forward. So internal, external. Oh, I feel that between my shoulder blades. So good. And then internal, external. All the way back down. Good. Now you can translate that into any of your standing poses, let's say like Warrior Two. I'll often teach, even we'll just do Warrior Two with our arms like this. So when we're moving deep into that shoulder joint, we're using all the little movers that help move your shoulders and help move your arm in a way that they may not work as often. So how does that feel? Good, good, good. Don't worry, we're going to get into the neck too as well, because I always find when I work my shoulders, my neck goes, what about me? We'll get to our beautiful necks in a moment. Now, we're gonna now just find somewhere in between here and the side. So somewhere in between, you're gonna go into external rotation, stay in external rotation, and slowly lift your arms up toward the ceiling. Lift your upper arm bone especially, so that's where you feel like you're leading the movement. But if I'm in external rotation, I am not going to be able to get my arms all that far unless, and if you've been watching the last couple of weeks of Movement Mondays, this might be kind of familiar to you, where, you know, unless I bring my ribs and chest up. So I keep my ribs down, I let my arms rise up, and I'm going to stay there for a few moments. Keep your arms up. You might have remembered this again if I had done a Movement Monday where we had the block between the arms. So this is the version without the block. You can imagine that there is a block. Breathing. And then slowly lowering the arms. Good work. Now we're going to do some stuff against the wall. So if you have a wall nearby, that's helpful. And the first thing so I'm going to just scoot back here. There. Okay. Now when you're against the wall, you can do this sitting or standing. I'm doing it sitting just because the camera is at this height, and I'm not going to go and change it. So here we are sitting or standing. And when you're at the wall, try to press the back of the mid, back, and shoulders against the wall, right? Arms relaxed by your side. Especially if you're standing, try not to flatten your lower back at the wall. We just want to have kind of mid, upper back there. And then I'm going to bring my arms to the wall, out to the side. And it doesn't matter how high they are, but when I bring my arms out to the wall, I'm going to notice what my shoulder blades are doing. So let your arms drop one more time. Notice when your arms drop that there's probably some space between your shoulder blades. Your shoulder blades are moving away from the spine a bit. But then when I bring them back, how much do your shoulder blades squeeze together? Notice that. Don't try to change it. And then also, did your ribs pop up away from the wall? Very likely they did. So we're going to do that same movement again, and I'm going to really glue the mid section of my ribs to the wall. Even if that brings my head a little bit forward, that's fine. But now I'm going to think about first reaching my arms away from the wall so I can feel the shoulder blades away from each other. Keep that feeling of my shoulder blades away from each other, and I'm going to try to bring my arms to the wall without moving my shoulder blades to the spine. But if you can see here, to achieve this, to keep my rib cage at the wall, to keep my shoulder blades wide, I can't even actually get my arms on the wall. And so you might be noticing that as well, which is good. Because now when I do this, I'm going to externally rotate even. When I do this, I immediately notice that there's more activation in my chest and down my arms. So that internally rotated pectoralis muscle that we have, so that short and tight pec that's pulling our shoulder forward, gets to work in this eccentric position, in this nice open, extended, loaded position, so to speak. So I hope this is making sense to you guys. Now you're going to keep doing that. So the goal is not actually to get your arms to the wall. The wall is just there as a little bit of biofeedback. But the goal is not to get the arms to the wall. The goal is to try to keep your ribs at the wall, shoulder blades wide, and then I'm going to do that same circle slow, up and out. So what I'm doing is I'm not letting my shoulder blades work too much. So they're not coming back together. They're not elevating too much. I'm just trying to drive the movement mostly into my shoulder joints. Meanwhile, check your neck. Are those type A traps that we have, are they working too much? Invite them to soften a bit. We'll do one more circle. Keeping the shoulder blades wide. Now that is a cellular dance party. I feel that blood rushing to my neck, down my arms. I hope that's feeling nice to you because we're going to go a little bit deeper now. So now let's take one arm in a hands up type position. And now some of us, again, you might not, the pecs might be so tight that the arm may not even get to the wall, so do your best. Or maybe you can get your elbow to the wall, but your forearm says, heck no. So we're gonna address that right now, because right now, so let's make this slightly easier. You're going to bend your hand so that the palm is facing to the floor. You're at a 90-degree angle, trying to keep your shoulders fairly level. And we're going to work a little bit on external rotation. Oh, how is this for you guys? My arms are really feeling this right now. So this is so simple. All I'm doing is externally rotating my upper arm so that my hand comes back. Oh, I gotta take a break for that. So my hand comes up to the wall. It's not even touching the wall today. This shoulder of mine always needs lots of love. And then down. And then you can go into internal rotation and try that. See how that is. I gotta keep telling my neck to relax. I'll do a few more of those. Now, is there an emoji that does this, like, because that's what I'd be pressing right now. It's my face, like the emoji that's going, oh my gosh. Oh. Like, give me a thumbs up if that was crazy for you guys too. Hello, I do this and sometimes it's more or less. Today, that shoulder really felt it. So let's see how this shoulder feels for us. Now, so start in this sort of kind of, you know, upper arm about shoulder height, your forearm like so. And then nice to see some thumbs up, right? Okay, cool. I'm not the only one. But then the experience for me on this arm, totally different. So I love how fascinating our bodies are and how it changes from day to day depending on how we use it. So I can see that my rotation, my mobility is a lot different today on this one. It's not as intense. I feel like I can move it more. So it's cool. So it's checking in. This is what I love about these exercises, is that they're also assessments, right? So I get to assess where I'm at while I'm moving and correcting and making things really awesome. So you guys keep doing that. So think about, use your yogi, whoops, I'm sliding, use your yogi x-ray vision. Can you see, can you vision, can you feel that rotation deep into your upper arm bone? Okay, now I'm feeling this again. Yay. And then you could, I like to do it one at a time, especially first, but you could also, you could do it both arms. So remember, it's not about trying to lift your chest up, because that makes life way easier. So if my chest is lifted and I do this, no problem. I'm going to try to keep my ribs down a little bit. So that's where I use the wall, mid-back, gently pressing into the wall. Immediately that puts a boundary on my movement, and then up and down. Whew. Okay, so I want you guys to try this with both arms. Don't let your chest lift off. If you had tuned in previously, and you can always go back in the archives of the videos on this page, I did a talk, I think 2 weeks ago, about the 4 pillars of a sustainable yoga practice. And this practice we're doing right now is really incorporating all those pillars. We're putting a boundary on the ribs so that we're driving the movement into new parts. We're definitely doing a lot of variety and diversity in our movement, which is another one of the pillars. Okay, let's do this one more time. Okay, feel that in your arms and your shoulders. Now is a really good time to do some stuff with our neck. Ready? So I know those of us who have helpful necks that like to use the traps and all, like the SEM, all those fun muscles, like to overwork. So let's give them a little bit of love here. Now I'm going to suggest you do something different with your legs if you've been sitting this whole time, just to create that variety and diversity. And we're just going to do a big circle with our head. So what we're going to do first is drop your chin towards your chest. You can let your arms relax. And then I'm going to roll my head over to one shoulder. I'm going to roll it over to the other. Oh, so nice. Roll one side and then to the other. And then let's let our head come back. Now, when you let your head come back, lead with your chin. Let your chin reach up toward the ceiling so that you're driving the movement to the front of your throat instead of hyperextension in the back of your neck. So we're going to do another circle, big circle around. I recommend these neck circles at least for you to do them at least once a day. Let's change directions. Circle around. Good. I'm so thankful for all of us tuning in today. This is so nice to be able to move with everybody. No matter where we are in the world, we get to stay connected like this. It's pretty awesome. So thanks for being here with me, everyone. Good. One more big circle. Remember, lift your chin up toward the ceiling and then back. Take a moment. Notice how your shoulders feel, your neck feels. And already moving, so we're winding up the practice a little bit. We're going to just finish off with a couple more movements with our legs. But already check in, take a moment and notice how things feel. Did we, notice how deep into the hip joints feel, into the neck, into some of those nooks and crannies of our shoulders that we move. So take note, and then I want you to get your strap. So if you have a strap, a scarf, anything long enough that you can grab your leg with, and use a block for your head, a blanket for your head. I'm a big fan of that, just to have support underneath your head, just because for many of us we live with our heads forward, so supporting your head just helps to invite it back into a more neutral alignment. So now let's lie down here. By the way, at any point while you're watching this, if you have questions, feel free to type them. I won't be able to address them right at this instant, but as we wrap up here in a couple of minutes, I can answer some of your questions. So if you had a question, write it down there and then we'll chat after this. But for now, you're gonna lie down on the floor, your head supported. Oh, lying down feels so good. Always my favorite. So your knees are gonna be bent, feet bent, or feet on the floor. And just take a few moments. You can place your hands on your belly if that feels comfortable for you, and just really spending a few moments to feel your spine relaxing into the ground, feeling all the layers of your belly soft. So we're still tuned in, we're aware and connected to the experience of our body, of ourself in this moment. Take a big deep breath in, and a big deep breath out. Nice. All right, so now I love anything that just gets into a really dynamic range of motion through my hip joints. And there's so many different ways to find that. And we've played around with some of that, both in our lunging and some of the movements we were doing at the beginning of this practice. So now this is a nice way, something again, a little bit more of a passive stretch, but it feels really nice when you're done with it. So in yoga, we call this Supta Padangusthasana. You don't have to call it that. You can call it whatever you want, because really I call this leg amazingness. So you've got your strap around the metatarsals of your foot, right with the balls of the foot, toes free. And you're not lifting your leg so that you're trying to get it as far over your head as possible at all. What we actually want to do right now is just tune in for a moment and see that your pelvis is in a neutral position, right? So your low back isn't flat. And this is just going to complete the cellular dance party for your hip joints. So your leg is up. Kind of do your best to try to relax through your quadriceps and your hip flexors. For some of us, they'll be easier said than done. So do your best. Take a few moments. So let your strap do a lot of the work of holding yourself up instead of the leg. Now, we're going to add the rotation. So just like we were doing with our arms and just like we were doing with our leg earlier, I'm going to internally and externally rotate my thigh bone, my femur bone, to the right, to the left. I will see my foot moving, right? But it's only moving because I'm initiating the movement deep into my hip joint. So go back into your x-ray vision, get more and more comfortable and connected with that movement that you have available to you in your hip joints. And notice how that feels when you've got your leg to the internal, external. It's vertical. You're not moving it over to one side like that across your body. It's staying upright. So the movement is deep in the joint. Okay, so we'll do a couple more of those. There's so many other fun variations. I think I did a video a couple months ago. So again, look in the archives of this page. I'm pretty certain I did do showed a bunch of the variations that I love in this pose. in a different video. So you've got fun to have for as long as you want with your legs in the archives. Okay, so we're going to switch and bring your other leg to the strap. Before doing anything else, your other leg's up in the air, but just notice for a moment how the leg that you just moved feels. Can you feel that circulation? Can you feel that happy rush of blood going back throughout your legs, definitely into your hip joints? And then relax the leg that's in the air. Find your more neutral pelvis. So remember, if you're trying to get your leg over your head like this, very likely you're pressing your lower back into the floor. And we want to find a neutral pelvis. So try to keep your natural lumbar curve. And then let's do the internal, external. Oh, that's good. Internal, external. So really visualize, again, see how does that feel to move your leg deep into the hip joint. Can you feel your femur bone turning out and in, bringing along all those wonderful little muscles surrounding your joints. Some of the larger muscles as well you'll probably be noticing. So good. Double check that your shoulders aren't working more than they need to, that they're not scrunched up to your ears. Keep your shoulder and neck relaxed. We'll do a couple more of those. You're welcome to, do this on your own and other times, or right now. Sometimes I like to keep my leg vertical, but hold it in that externally rotated position, because I also know that's where I hold, and for many of us, that's where we'll be the most tight. But same with the internal too. Okay. Wonderful. Remove the strap. You can let your arms relax. You can let your legs extend out. Maybe do a little wiggle of them here, whatever feels good to you after doing those movements. But let's do one more moment of really tuning in. How do I feel now after spending a little bit of time today mindfully moving my body, moving into some deeper layers, moving into some areas that I don't always move? How do those areas feel now? Good, let's take a big stretch. Now you're welcome to just lay here in however long of a version of Tadasana, Shavasana that works for you. I'm going to sit up now, and because I saw some writing, so I'm going to come over here and see if there were any questions. Yay. Okay. Hi, Jordan. So now will this let me see the questions? Yeah. Awesome. Hi, Gail. Okay. So, let's get over here. I hope that feels good. Give me thumbs up if you feel like a whole new person. If you feel that you felt and got a sense of the cellular dance party. I hope everything feels awesome now. Gail, you have a question of, yes, cellular dance party. And you have to sing it too when you say it. You can't just say cellular dance party. You have to be like, cellular dance party, because that's what your cells are doing. So feel free, please, hashtag. I've been for a year trying to make this a viral hashtag. So hashtag it, my friends. Okay, so Gail, when is it not advisable to do the full circle neck roll? It depends. There's some variations that you can do. I think if somebody has... It's case to, I don't know. It depends on the person's neck. I think the average person could get away with it. I think for some people, they would actually find a benefit doing this full circle neck roll. Actually, go back to my other video of the neck. I think I did 2 parts of the neck video. And I would do the smaller version, so where you're not hanging your whole head down, but you're trying to hang from C1 and 2, and then doing like a smaller neck circle. That could be a nice alternative. But, yeah, maybe if there's some osteoarthritis in the neck, that might be not so advisable for that. That would be my short answer. Marie, you've got a question. Can you share a modification or alternative movement for someone with really tight hips in the seated 90-90 leg positioning hip mobility work? I know that one comes up sometimes, and what also sometimes comes up with that 90-90 position is that some people's knees don't feel comfortable doing it. And so what I would try, so here's kind of my short answer for that. So because what's so nice about that 90-90, right, is that it gets us into the internal and external rotation. What we were doing on the wall was kind of like a shoulder 90-90 work. Now, the prep for that, to maybe get somebody prepared to do the bigger motion of the 90-90, would be doing the stuff that we just did on the floor with the strap. So getting them into the passive range first for a little bit, not having the legs super vertical, just, you know, having it tall and high enough so that they can feel relaxed in the hips, so they can talk to their hip flexors, talk to the quadriceps, get a sense of relaxation to those muscles first. And then in that passive way with the strap, having them just really, you know, use that internal and external rotation on the strap for a while. Does that make sense? So that's going to help get them toward the 90-90 position. They can do that. They can even do it I'm just thinking like they can do it standing up with their leg on a stool, right? Where if they're still in that extended legs on the stool, and then, but they're not, it's not like the height of a chair, and then doing that internal and external rotation. So if they did that for a while, right, depending on how frequently they do that over time, I think that would get them toward the 90-90. The next answer that I would have for you, you could play with your, and I'm assuming you're asking this for your students too, or if you have private clients, that's where propping up, and then with the hands back. So this is a nice modified 90-90. Feel free if you guys want to still move. This one's kind of nice. So I'm gonna move back a bit here. And so my feet are still in that wide position. I'm not tucked on my tailbone like this. I'm trying to still stay as best I can onto my sit bones. And then I'm going like that. So you can see, like, wow, my range of motion in this angle is way smaller. But this is another way to get them a little bit prepped. Their toes are going to stay up so that they're rolling over their heel, so that the foot is staying in the same plane and alignment as the knee. So there, so that can be some variation. So if you're teaching a full class and you don't have time to get them on their back, this can be option one. And then the next option, maybe they can do this, right? And then the next option is that. So that's kind of a nice progression of those. But the very first progression would be, I would have them lying on the floor with the leg like we did. So good. So I hope that answers that. I'm going to roll up here. Jenna, my mirror neurons are working. Yay! We're all mirror neuroning it. Yes. So if you were tuning in and you've never heard of mirror neurons, I have a post a couple of weeks ago talking about it, or Google them. Mirror neurons, amazing. Such amazing, cool part of our brain that just shows we're hardwired for each other. We learn through each other. So awesome. Okay, awesome. Oh, good. I'm glad that worked, Marie. Hi, Kavita. Okay, so if you have any other questions, now's your chance. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this baby up. I hope that, I'll give you a moment to write stuff in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This will be available on the page. I think I also recently put, you can do playlists in the video. So I just put together all the shoulder videos that I have, and then all the leg videos that you can actually use them as a playlist on this page. So if that helps, feel free, if you want to be on my email list, you'll get Movement Mondays straight into your inbox all week. And no, sorry, not all week. Each Monday you'll get an inbox or an email into your inbox. And you can be part of our Heart and Bones Facebook group. It's a really awesome group. If you're not already in there, I come in and actually do more exclusive stuff, especially if you're a teacher. We do like talk about workshops and fun stuff like that. You're welcome. Thanks, Jenny. I'm glad you can make it. Yes, Stephanie, the small, thoughtful movements. I feel like this is my mission in the world. Thank you, Jenna. I feel like this is my mission. It's like, can we put more value on the small movements? We live in a culture that says, big movements, I'm going to get my leg around my head, I'm going to do this, whatever crazy gymnastics like yoga move, and that's fun. But I think we do that, sometimes we devalue the experience of the small mindful movements. Get into those nooks and crannies, create your cellular dance party. Please hashtag that. If you're on Instagram, find me at Heart and Bones and hashtag and tag me on your post when you're doing it, because I'm offering a prize. I don't know what the prize is yet, but it's going to be awesome and worth it. But the ultimate prize is the fact that you just moved in fun, different ways. Am I right, people? So thanks for tuning in. You're welcome, Michelle. You guys are all awesome, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye. Have a fabulous day or evening, wherever you are.